science can't explain it, when experts can't solve it, you'll find it in The X-Files, a new dramatic series premiering Friday at 9, 8 Central.
Good old boys.
I'm Mark.
Bog Beef.
And I'm Hellbilly Elegy.
This is, I guess, the second in the X-Files review show series.
Yeah, the first one we did, Beyond the Sea, was like a backdoor pilot, right? We weren't really dipping into it.
That was like the post-Super Bowl episode just to kind of get us on the air, and now this is like the actual settling into the series.
Yeah, have you ever been recommended a TV show by somebody and they're like, yeah, don't watch the first season of the first, you need to start on episode number 18 or whatever, that. Yeah, we did that with Beyond the Sea. Now we're going to talk about the X-Files itself, because not everybody's seen it.
Should we introduce Hellbilly Elegy? I mean, people know he's been around. We've known him basically all our life.
We've known him. I've known him as long as I've known you. We've been friends for a very long time. He is a man who has many different talents. He's got deep historical knowledge. He knows, as you'll find out, he knows a lot about television, and he's probably one of the funniest human beings we've ever met.
Yes, and I saw people saying that someone said that the good old boys, all they do is talk about killing Yankees and starting the Civil War. Well, he does in fact live north of the Mason-Dixon line, so
it's true.
Yeah. So let's get to business. So I mean, I think the first thing to say is, I'll just come out the bat. There are a lot of, we were talking about, you were saying before the show, there's a lot of sort of TV shows that they're just sort of janking around. They're not really sure what they're going to do till the second or third season. I mean, this pilot, it's all there.
Yeah, they hit the ground running. Even just establishing sort of the role of the government. These dudes are just evil, really coming out strong in kind of every part of the series just from the moment they say go. Yes.
I was watching the stuff from the creator, Chris Carter, and he kind of laid out the two things that sort of, there's two shows in this series. There's there is the plot shows, and then there's the monster of the week. And he was sort of describing he had known he had the main story and these characters figured out, but he also knew he wanted it to be a vehicle for the monster. And I say monster of the week, basically I'm sort of, my mind, I'm thinking of those old Weird Tales magazines and stuff. And he also said he wanted it to be horror.
There was a show in the 70s. I've never seen it, but it's pretty, I wouldn't say it's famous, a cult classic, Kolchak, the Night Stalker.
Yeah, it was a stated influence on this show.
Yeah, he straight up says in one of his interviews, he straight up says I saw that, I loved it, I wanted to make my an updated version of it. Have you ever seen Kolchak?
I have not. I think that's slightly ahead of our mutual times.
Yeah, it was the 1970s. It was, you'd be watching it with Ironside and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other things. So when he talked about the idea going into it, he laid out just a couple of things. He laid out that, and he also laid out that the main character thing would be that there'd be a man and a woman, and he was going to gender flip the expected mindsets of them, where they say the woman's intuition, and that I get he was saying that you would expect the man to be more analytical and et cetera, and the woman to be intuition driven, and he said that was flipped.
Well, where he got that from was Silence of the Lambs, which had just come out a year or two before.
That's a great point. I never even thought about that. Yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Who was that? Jodie Foster?
Yeah, Jodie Foster.
Yeah.
Did she have red hair in there?
She did.
Yeah.
Okay. That's on the money. And I noticed one of the other things is that so he was talking about he was talking about the casting of these two characters. He said that the studio exec said that Gillian Anderson did not fit the profile of a leading TV character in a hit show. What do you think they meant by that?
What was it? What did a female leading character in 1993 have? I heard him say that in an interview, and I'm not sure. Did they not think that she was pretty enough? That couldn't be it, right? I'd always heard back when the show was on, when I was young, there was the urban legend that they thought she was too pretty to be an FBI agent. That they had to do stuff to bring her back down to earth. They covered up her beauty mark and stuff like that. However, as we talked about in the last one, Every young man was in love with Gillian Anderson in the 90s. Like and not just like every teenage boy. It's like if you were under the age of 30, you loved Gillian Anderson. So I don't know what they possibly could have been looking for, other than blonde.
Right. The only thing I was thinking of was like Farrah Fawcett killed on TV, right?
Yeah, but like that was like 15 years before that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I can't place anything else like in that specific era. I feel like I watched like a fair amount of TV during my period, but I can't quite determine like who the Fox execs had to have been picturing when if they were saying that.
Yeah, it's interesting because he said like when Duchovny came in, he were like, okay, he's got it. Like, there's personal things about Duchovny that make him similar to the character, but also, he led into he's like, well, Duchovny has like the star power, movie guy charisma, etc. And then he sort of then when he got to Gillian Anderson, he kind of trailed off. And he's like, well, it just kind of,
Well, here maybe this will help a little bit. So here are the most popular 1992, 1993 television shows that had female either leads or co-leads. Murphy Brown, that's a big one. Roseanne, yeah, she didn't definitely fit the bill for that one. Home Improvement, the mother was like basically hardly a character, and Cheers, which I guess had Diane and then later on Kirstie Alley.
In other words, comedy people.
Oh, that's a good point.
That is a very good point. Yeah.
Yeah, because see, like, well, and this is a consistent problem in television. Like, there were, I guess, three kinds of television shows back then. There were dramas. A woman has a very specific role in the drama. There's the comedy, also a very specific role. You either have like the Roseanne clown character or the wife who plays the straight woman. And then you had things that were either soap operas or glorified soap operas, which revolved around personal drama. But, the thing is today, like, we make fun of soap operas, but like every TV show now is between 10 and 100% soap opera, if you think about it. Because of the growth of serialization in television shows.
Mm-hmm. Both these actors, they also, he was talking about when he was talking about this with Mulder, but I'm thinking this goes for both. Where he says that Duchovny basically he did the character by underacting, and I think this is something you get with both of them. That when you see in TV shows where you have like people that sort of came out through theater, they have this like more exaggerated and they holler and yell.
Yeah. It's a mechanical thing because if you're in a theater, you have to do that. You have to project everything. People are watching you from a distance, and then whereas with when film, they're watching you extremely close up. This is a big problem in early film, where there's a problem, stylistic change. If you watch early movies, and I don't just mean silent movies, like early talking movies. Like, look at the early John Wayne movies. They are overacting like a just because that's how you acted. It took a long time to get used to the change in technology.
100%.
Yes. And like this, this is like such the opposite of that. It's super subtle. There are, it wasn't this episode in particular, but when I was watching other episodes and stuff, they're more have a problem with like basically mumbling and stuff. There are scenes where I had to like jack the volume and you still can't really tell what they said. They're just, which is more like real life. People don't talk in this crazy exaggerated tone. It's very, and I don't know if you could call this gritty or whatever, but this is all kind of
it's procedural.
Yeah, I don't know how much of this was like this on TV at that time. I know, you're talking about with women, it's funny. We were talking about these other shows with prominent women on. It's all like, kind of funny women that are like, super attractive. But, when you think of any of the shows that were serious then, or even mildly serious, like, did MacGyver have a girlfriend? Did Knight Rider have a girlfriend? Did, Miami Vice guys have a girlfriend? I don't think so.
I think they were like, they had the Jerry Seinfeld school of here's a rotating girlfriend, like a future starlet who's gonna play your girlfriend for one episode and then vanish into the ether forever.
Yeah, and the Miami Vice pilot, like the show opens up with him. They basically explain he's like a deadbeat dad, so his wife isn't going to be around.
I am
the
man.
Yeah. Okay, so we get started in the show.
Yeah, and I don't want our X-Files shows to be like there are a lot of people who do these reviews of episodes where they just like read the plot to you and then make a snarky comment. I don't want to do that, but however, for the pilot episode, you kind of have to do that because everything's being introduced. Like the very first scene in the show, there's the quick tag of like there's an alien abduction that happened, or maybe it's an alien abduction. We don't know. There's just some weird stuff happens, and then immediately, bam, you're cutting to Gillian Anderson in like a late '80s, early '90s pantsuit, right? And she's walking through the FBI office. Like you just see from the moment that she comes on the screen, okay, this is supposed to be a serious character.
Well, even before you get to the whole like opening abduction thing, you have the title card ahead of it with like the whole,
Yes, the Fargo.
Yeah.
The following story is inspired by actual documented
the
events.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre opening. So even before you get that, you have that kind of setting the tone of like, this is
not Mork and Mindy. Please don't turn the channel.
yeah. Like, yeah, no, it's exactly that. It's the, we're going to be dealing with aliens and fluke men, but we promise you this is like serious business television. Interesting point. Do you know what the lead-in was for the pilot of the X-Files? Like what was airing before it?
I watched the pilot when it was on TV, and I'd never heard of the X-Files, so it must have been something dumb because I was watching it when I was a child.
It was Briscoe County Jr.
Oh man, I don't. Did either of you watch that show? I loved that show.
I actually had not heard of it until I was kind of doing my research before this, and I don't know how a sci-fi western starring Bruce Campbell has gone under my radar for 30 something years of my life. But
it was one of my favorite shows. I watched it every week, and when they canceled it, it was like the first time somebody that People get weird about canceled TV shows, like they get nostalgic or whatever. That's the first show that I was mad at the television for not showing any more Bruce Campbell cowboy antics.
Yeah. Now, another thing that you see when the show starts is that this is like the most well lit you're going to see anything for the next like 7 seasons. Like the sun is out, and when they go inside, like all the lights are on and stuff, and which I think is cool because like they don't really. We don't walk into an X-Files set until a little bit later, but like when she walks in the building, it's like she's on another show where things are well lit.
Well, the guy who made the show said that the guy who directed this episode never directed another X-Files episode. He went on to do other stuff, and like that happens a lot too. I know like a lot of times they'll shoot pilots kind of on location or on locations that are closer to. That's not in Southern California disguised as Pittsburgh or whatever,
Yeah.
So a lot of times it will look a lot different than the show does because everything else happens within this like 300-mile radius of LA because of, I think, union rules, right? You get more per diem if you stray outside of this area.
Yeah. So the pilot for this was actually shot mostly in Vancouver. And actually, a lot of the show shot there as well. You are kind of right, and here's where I'll disclose that I kind of work in the business side of television broadcasting. And yeah, like you said, the idea of someone directing your pilot and then not signing on for the rest of the series is like it's super common because your pilot is really just you going to the network and be like, hey, you can sell ads with this. Like that is what television is all about.
Kickstarter for your television show.
It really is because television networks sell all their ad space in the spring or try to sell like the majority of it. So that's really when they want like their punchy stuff to kind of display and secure all that marketing money before they kind of have to scramble and start finding things like through the rest of the year.
Are we talking about the director here?
Yeah, the director of the episode.
But it's not like he was a nobody and they just didn't have the money. What they made it sound like is that he was a superstar. I don't know if I would say superstar, but they said that like he won a bunch of awards for this and they followed what he did. They modified it some, but let's get to the scene where they meet Mulder. So at the beginning, she sort of shows up to the FBI building. She checks in and she goes into the office of her supervisor, right?
Right.
And we see the smoking man is there for the first time, and her sort of FBI managers. One thing that I saw Chris Carter say was that the FBI is not is not the big bad guy, of course. The big bad guy is essentially like the deep state / WASP conspiracy, and the FBI is just sort of their middle management in between.
They're unwitting middlemen in a conspiracy. They don't realize what's happening. That's what he says. I don't know if I buy that. I think he said that after the fact, after the show was a hit, because like there's this anecdote about him that like the FBI contacted him after the show came on to like take him to do stuff, and, like sucked up to him basically. Like I guess to like say, yeah, hey, please stop telling people that we know that we killed JFK and we know where the aliens are. And so like I think, but I don't.
But the smoking man, no, all I'm saying, so like
the smoking man doesn't work for the FBI. That's true. We find out at the end of the episode.
Right. In other words, he can just like walk onto campus and tell these people what to do.
Yeah.
Because they're like there's another organization above FBI.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I entirely buy that explanation either, just literally considering how they straight up set up Scully to be like, we need you to just kind of like discredit this guy so we can just shut down this operation. Like that is a very clear directive. And, you know, if they were totally unwitting, I don't think they would particularly care if you had this lone wacko chasing after Bigfoots or whatever.
Yeah, if you read between the lines of the introduction, they say, hey, you're Scully, and we're going to do the exposition where it's like, yeah, you just graduated from med school, or you've graduated from med school and you've been teaching or whatever, and you're kind of new to the FBI, maybe not super new, like but kind of new, and you know,
2 years.
Yeah. Oh, nice. And they say, you know, hey, have you ever heard of this guy called Fox Mulder? And she goes, oh yes. He's an Oxford-educated genius analyst, but people call him spooky. You know, he's a genius, but he's into these really weird things. And they say, yeah, I'm glad you've heard of him because we're going to assign you to use your scientific outlook to work with him on these files that the X-Files wasn't Mulder's assignment. This was just stuff he was doing extracurricular. And they didn't like that, so they said the best thing to do is, I guess, put him to work there, and we'll sandbag him with this lady whose job it is, as she says, to debunk him. Like, you know, you're gonna fact check the alien stuff that Mulder's doing and make sure that nothing comes of it. And she picks up on this immediately and kind of calls it out. Which is, I think, one of the central points that the pilot tries to get across is that they bring her in as a hired gun to shoot him down, but like she's actually really good at her job, way better at her job than they want her to be.
Right. Yeah, no, they're hoping that she shuts it down through like objective observation, but the problem is her objective observation, you know, doesn't totally align with the result they want.
When there are alligators in the sewers, having the just the facts man person there documenting everything is bad if you're trying to cover up the existence of the lizard people of Alderaan 3.
It's like, okay, so if the FBI doesn't like Spooky, then why can't they just get rid of him? Well, they explained that pretty well. So he comes in with high credentials from Oxford, and he's something of an expert. I believe what they explain it like sounds like criminal psychology.
Yeah, he's a profiler.
He's an analyst, and she says he's genius tier, like the best analyst in the world, and that's one of the reasons why they can't get rid of him, because he's really good at his real job.
Well, that's how he sort of rockets to stardom through that, but then he develops a personal interest in this thing called the X-Files. By that time, he has made contacts with congressmen and senators who basically just keep him from getting fired. But they would fire his ass like immediately if he did not have. And they especially, we meet him later. There's a senator basically that's on, I guess, one of these oversight committees or whatever that basically keeps him there. But outside of that, I mean, he's almost like an enemy at this point. And it's, from what I understand, like, by that point he is, that he's protected. He basically loses interest at all in his assigned job, and he just starts freelancing. In his personal interest, the X-Files. They never told him to work on the X-Files.
I think that when the show starts, that's when they're fit. They say, okay, you want to do this so much, go ahead and do this now. This is now you're in the basement. This is your job, because you never see either of them throughout the entire series doing any other job for the FBI, with one exception, other than these X-Files. Like the X-Files. He explains to her. Well, we'll just go on to the next one. She meets Mulder. This is important. Like immediately, like you described, he's like this understated guy, and he says, "Welcome to the basement. We're at the FBI's most unwanted." And like within 2 minutes of speaking, he asked her if she believes in UFOs.
Yes, it's a very interesting character because he's I think that they mean him to be kind of autistic because like
Kind of autistic.
yeah, well I mean like even like he doesn't look people in the eye when he talks to them and stuff like that.
I actually also kind of know this down. Like he I don't know if this is just what was intended to be his personality or if it was just kind of like the somewhat uneven dialogue that they gave him, but like his tendency to like quip at really weird times definitely feels like
yes. Yes, there's yes, especially later on there's a that must be planned. That is genius. Yeah,
like
so
he's not reading the room as like a corpse falls out of a coffin. Just kind of.
Yes. So
that wasn't part of procedure, huh?
Yeah. So but the twist is that so he's autistic, but he also sort of rides on intuition, which is not really an autist thing. Yeah. So we meet him, and he sort of talks about it, but by the way, he does tell her. He says, basically, I'm still here because I have protection on Capitol Hill.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah, like it's important. Well, I don't know if it's important. It should be noted the X-Files were not ever a thing. They were. He explains to her in this scene. They would investigate something and they would see stuff that was paranormal, and they would instantly pull the FBI agents out and just throw it into a garbage file. Like, here's all the crap. We don't know what it is. We don't want to know what it is. And like Mulder called this I think Mulder like named it the X-Files.
Yeah.
It wasn't like there was an X-Files division. J. Edgar Hoover's not giving people orders to go, chase down Swamp Thing. That's not, none of this was planned. They don't want it to happen.
It's literally a file cabinet, though.
Yeah,
in the basement.
No. Yes. Yeah, that is, we've talked about before. It's season 6, like it's just a literal metal file cabinet filled with paper files. That is the X-Files.
I want to drop a bomb. Okay, so they meet and they're going to go to Oregon because there's at the beginning of the show you see a possible abduction. And he's going to go investigate it. It's not super important for the purposes of our.
The FBI looked at it like a month ago and they tossed it in the X-Files.
Here's where I want to throw you guys a curveball because I asked you before and you guys didn't watch the deleted scenes. So there's a deleted scene right after Mulder tells them they're going to Oregon, where Scully goes to visit her boyfriend who she lives with, who is a journalist, television journalist, and tells her, sorry, baby, I got to go to Oregon. And they, have a little conversation about that. So in the pilot, originally, there are 2 scenes that are deleted from the pilot, and they both involve her boyfriend. One of them is that one, and the other one is her in bed with her boyfriend. They cut this scene, and it's like, this was the best cut, like the best thing to cut I've ever seen in a deleted scene, because putting those scenes in would have changed the tone of the entire television show and like the entire series.
Yeah,
it would have been horrible.
That is huge.
Yeah,
like because I definitely have some points to make later. How like this was like the first like fandom show, and that was like such a big part of it. So yeah, wow.
Yeah, they're genius with editing. Like, I don't know if this is true or not, but I've sort of seen stuff like this. That so part of the show is that there's sexual tension between them, but it's never completed. And like, to be honest, it would like ruin it as soon as it is.
Yes, that's explicitly the case. Like, this has happened before in TV shows. Yeah. And
so they kind of like from what I understand, there's a couple kisses in like the first 5 seasons. They just edited them out. However, like, the people on the show, they sort of behave as if these people are fucking, but they're not, but you never see it. They cut all that. And so it just sort of makes like the perfect, you know what I mean?
When you told me about that, how they filmed them, like, they had scenes where they kissed and they cut them, it made me laugh because like when we do the podcast, we'll do things like where we're going to rant about something that we're mad about, from Twitter or whatever, and then we'll just complain and bitch about something, and then we'll just go back and post and edit it all out. It's the perfect.
You're all fired up.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, because you it's like we still get the performance from the actor, us, on the show, except minus the part that would sort of ruin it. And exactly. Okay, and so we meet, and you sort of see that all through this, and even that like they're a little too, they're like too handsy and close and touchy and stuff for
from the very start, from this episode, like it's pretty unprofessional, even in '93 context.
Skull would come over and be like, "Hey, can you check my butt for?"
Can you examine my tramp stamp? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So They meet. He says, we're going to get started. And she sort of has like there's like a character development for her through this whole thing. She's sort of like, I don't know, confident, but not sure what's going on, but she's still sort of like, she has this trust in sort of science and stuff when she's still in his office. That sort of, we're going to see that go away. But,
No, so yeah, they get on a plane to Oregon, and there's another great character scene where the plane has really bad turbulence. The oxygen mask drop, the plane like lists from left to right. Everybody is freaking out, but Mulder's just like 100%
sprawled across the seats, asleep.
Yes, yeah, 100% neurodivergent. Absolutely does not care.
yeah, if you did that scene like 10 years later, he would have been playing a Game Boy the entire time.
If you did that scene 10 years later, the roles would have been reversed.
Oh, well, anyways, they're on the flight. And this is where now, like, we're not in Kansas anymore. She starts like, she's already like scared, and the way they film it, she's like, and I think he's sort of telling her things that are kind of scary and like non-scientific about this, and she starts to, I don't know, have the horror main character woman thing going on, where she's starting to think about all the scary things, and she's starting to get scared a little bit.
Yeah, because isn't he talking about how like, you know, like 3 teens from like the local high school have died in like the past year or something, whereas like now we would just call that fentanyl, but you know, then it was kind of unusual and strange.
Yeah, the mysterious deaths of these young people. They have mysterious marks on their lower back, and there's no explanation for this. The FBI didn't even try to make one. Didn't even try to make an explanation. They go to Oregon because another victim has been found with the marks, and they're going to go, I guess, join the local authorities in investigating the murders. It's kind of it's more than implied. Like Mulder says, there's a cover up happening in the town. That somebody in the town is covering up what's actually happening. So after they examine the dead body of the young woman, they decide to exhume the body of one of the previous victims, which leads to the scene that Hellbilly alluded to, where they. I guess they must not have been able to get union work. Like they must have like some kind of contractor problem, because they dropped the casket and like the lid pops open, and Mulder thinks this is hilarious. There's like a desiccated corpse of like a 22-year-old boy, and he's like, ah.
Yeah, but like, it's not like he's like a hardened detective or something.
No, he's just like completely failing to share the same reaction that everyone else is having to.
Yes, he makes some bad joke. I can't remember.
Yeah.
They're in Oregon. We meet the locals, and this is the point where Oregon still, it's not Southern Gothic, but I don't know.
It's weird. Like it's just kind of weird. I mean, you know, and this was another thing I kind of noticed is like, you know, you have your show starting off with a dead girl in the Pacific Northwest, and Twin Peaks, which came out about 2 years before, also started out with a dead girl in the Pacific Northwest. So like it kind of established a reputation by that point as just being this like
spooky,
weird, spooky place where stuff is going on under the surface. Because another thing to kind of mention from the cemetery scene is like the medical examiner kind of driving up and yelling at them for, you know, digging up this body.
Yeah.
On his turf.
Yeah.
Oregon has changed a lot, basically, since you have like a wave of immigration there from California after the LA riots. And also you have sort of the tech thing blow up, etc. But like, you know, before that, I think Oregon was nationally known as basically you have like weird, like people on witness protection. You had like the entire eastern part of the state was all Nazis. You have all this like sort of logging people, and like it was
this like kind of transient worker population.
Yes, it was like it was a scary, I'd say Southern Gothic. It's not Southern, but like it was just a weird. This is where you would have that UFOs and stuff.
And famously, like, it wasn't the first U.S. UFO sighting, Mount Rainier in Washington, like, right? You know,
yes.
Right? Yeah, but don't oversell this. Like, it stuck out to me. There was a great like second unit filming scene where when they're going into the town in Oregon. It's like, this is kind of a point I wanted to make. now they love cramming nostalgia crap into everything. Like that show Stranger Things and a bunch of different shows that are like, hey, remember when it was the 1980s and they had these people dressed up like 19, but it doesn't it I've never seen any of those that made me think, oh, that's nostalgic, because it just doesn't look right. You have these people in HD and it's not, they don't quite get it. But you watch like this I don't know, 10 second unit film scene where they're driving through this Oregon town in their 90s car, and people are walking around in their 90s clothes, filmed in the 90s aspect ratio, you know, the crappy film grain from the 90s. So,
the only bout of nostalgia, I did get some nostalgia. I guess, like, you know, it hit me when looking at one of the phones, like one of those big
Yes.
goofy house phones. That sort of hit me with nostalgia. That was pretty much it.
I don't think you can create nostalgia. I don't think you can do that. I mean, I guess maybe
It's like getting deja vu for me. It's like, you know.
yeah. I just don't think you can do that. It's like it's something that's
Nostalgia isn't like referential. It's not
yes.
a blatant, command to like remember the thing you're looking at. It's just like seeing something sort of in situ, like how it was actually just that way back then, and feeling like, oh, if I grew up in like a, semi-rural area, not too different from that. So yeah, no, there's definitely like a special feeling you get when you just see them like driving through that, stretch of the wooded road and everything. And yeah,
Perhaps it's not an important point, but it's like you can get nostalgia walking into your grandmother's house and like she's got a doily and a rotary phone for whatever reason. Like
Yeah.
that can be, oh, that's extremely nostalgic. You could give Steven Spielberg $1 billion to recreate your grandma's house or whatever.
and then you
and
get Ready Player One.
Yes, exactly. It would be horrible. It's not. It's not only. Not only does it not work, it just feels bad. It's like, yeah, it's like kind of like the Psycho thing where you. It's not. It's not. It's not. It's not Mother. It's Mother's body propped up in a window with her eyes sewn on.
I think that you're getting that, like, probably I don't get is I'm not saying, like, obviously it's different. I know the trees in the Pacific Northwest, they have that very particular look, but it's kind of mountainous. It's a little bit like where you grew up,
That's
right?
true. That's true. Good point.
Yeah, I feel like Mark and I grew up in very similar kind of
It's the same
locales.
mountain range, right?
Yeah,
Isn't it?
same mountain range. Yeah,
Yeah, the Appalachians, like just the Yankee version and the Southern version.
yeah.
Yeah, there's like no, there's just no hills or mountains in my world. So yeah. So we see this body, the body pops open, some other stuff happen. We go to the autopsy. That's what you want to talk about that.
They get the body out and the body does not look human. Doesn't it look clearly like like she says it could be an orangutan? Doesn't it look? It looks exactly like a dead orangutan to me.
I really want to know where they were just getting these ape corpses that they've apparently just been filling the caskets with.
Went to the Barnum and Bailey. It's like,
So I was just walking through the Portland Zoo with a Glock and just, doing some wet work.
By the way, it's a great scene, and like I didn't get her. So when she said that, I thought, well, do they not have the budget? Like, and I didn't think of that. I just thought, like, is this, she's in denial or something. This doesn't look anything like an orangutan
Yeah, she
at
says
all
it's
to
a
me.
prank. Yeah.
And like it has this. I mean, it's a great scene. The body looks great. They don't like. A lot of times you just get like like a flash over the thing, especially they don't spend a ton of money on it. But like,
there's a reason for that too. If it was a human body in any time, even now, you wouldn't want to linger on it. That would be gross. But because it's so clearly not a human, it's okay. It's like I thought it was. I gaslit myself thinking I didn't remember. Like, was there a prank in this episode where somebody put like a chimpanzee in that guy's coffin? But no, I mean it's. I guess it's supposed to be mutated body, but to me it was like that is definitely a monkey.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I never thought of it actually supposed to be like a, mutated deformed corpse. I 100% read that as monkey corpse.
Monkeys have it.
maybe I was focused on the face, and that's what she believed. She thought that this was a joke, that someone put a monkey in the cough. They buried a monkey.
Yeah, it's 93, so you can't just like run instant DNA testing through a computer. They have to do X-rays. They take samples and they put them in a filing cabinet, and
There's a procedure.
they go home and watch 60 Minutes. Right? It's
She says, well, it's a monkey. He says it's an alien. And he says, well, we need take the blood samples, take the thing samples. Did they show this is where they found the little metal device,
Yeah.
right?
They found a little metal implant in the monkey slash aliens in alien's head, and that's a very key plot point like throughout the television show. This little metal implant. I wonder like if that. I'm sure it was probably a thing in urban legends about alien abductions, but I don't think that normal human beings had ever had thought of the concept of like aliens taking you and putting a metal implant in your head until this television show. It mainstreamed a lot of the weird UFO crap that people wrote in little books in like the 60s and 70s.
We had playground legends about bugs. You know what I mean? And like, I don't think it was ever explained to me what a bug looked like. I mean, talking about like a listening device.
Oh, like the FBI was bugging your phone?
Right. And what they showed sort of reminded me of like that kind of thing. I don't know, maybe it's just growing up in the what do you call it? The Cold War or whatever.
Yeah.
Where people are thinking
Yeah.
about stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so they've examined the monkey and decided we need to go talk to the two survivors of whatever unexplained thing happened, and they're both in a mental institution. One of them has been in a catatonic state for 4 years, and the other is a girl in a wheelchair who refuses to leave his side. And when they get there, the girl has a crazy episode. Mulder makes another inappropriate joke about this extremely sad situation that does not land whatsoever, but it's not acknowledged in the rest of the show. The girl has the same marks on her body, and after they leave the insane asylum, they go off into the woods to investigate further, and they are escorted out at gunpoint by the local sheriff, like a local sheriff's deputy.
Well, she also has the nosebleed. Don't forget that, because that was also kind of like a big part of like the alien abduction mythos that also sort of got popularized, I think.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did a nosebleed scene, and like she reaches up to touch her nose before it, like she's Ric Flair in a WWE
Yeah.
match. Like oh, it's a blood pellet. Oh, oh.
By the way, you know how they did that in wrestling?
Well, they used to like literally cut themselves
Yeah.
with razor blades.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some big vein on your head, and you just sort of touch it, and supposedly it just opens up.
Yeah.
That was the thing, right? Bleeders, they were guys who were really good at that. That was like
Yeah,
a specialty.
they called it bleeding.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works. I mean, blood just sort of there's some sort of thing in the back of our head that things get way more serious once the color starts.
I'm sorry.
Think like there's something like in the human primitive brain sense that's just sort of like
When you see somebody bleeding, like you have lizard brain reactions to it. It's not
Yeah.
gotcha, not intellectual. Yeah, fair enough.
yeah, you get the feeling like it's masterfully done where you're pointing they're pointing the camera at Scully and it's like she's thinking and she's sort of developing thoughts and you know what I mean. I don't think we get that with Mulder much through the series, but there's
I mean, you're watching her process, and I have like a very galaxy brain note here that like she's sort of like the audience proxy in all this. Like she's the one kind of watching
Ooh,
this
yeah.
and trying to figure out like, is this actual, paranormal phenomena? Are we watching some elaborate, hoax slash cover up of something that's, ultimately grounded in reality?
Yeah, this can't be what he's saying can't be happening. So what is actually happening? But that's a great
Right.
point about you need this if you're making a science fiction show, horror show, fantasy show, anything that's out there. You need an everyman character, a stand-in for the audience to like not only like literally do exposition to give you information that you don't have, but someone who reacts like a normal person and not like bizarre UFO hunter Coomer.
Right.
Fox
And
Mulder.
also, I mean, we're in the pilot, we're pitching this series, so and there's really like two ways it could have gone. It could have like really leaned into the weirdness, like, yes, the paranormal is real and we're going to investigate it, or it could have just been entirely about like debunking these, ultimately strange things. So it's
Yeah.
making a decision here, and the what Bog is saying of kind of like watching Scully puzzle through it is absolutely intentional for like what an audience must have been like watching this for the very first time.
Yeah, that's perfect because like they said, Mulder is intuitive. So in other words, he doesn't think; he just sort of knows. And she thinks, and she's ultimately fair through the series. There's a couple of times where she's like, she's way too skeptical, but But okay, so this is the point where she's back at the hotel room and she's sort of studying the samples and she's thinking it through and she's etc.
Well, okay, yeah. So everything you've seen to now, and
by the way, the hotel room is the first time we get to meet one of Spooky Mulder's alter egos, the hood rat Mulder.
I was just going to bring that up. I was going to say another autistic Mulder moment of, hey, do you want to join me for a run through the rainy woods at 12 o'clock at night?
Yeah, hello, person I just met. Would you like to accompany me?
Hello, unescorted woman. Would you like to?
And he
disappear
his
into the woods with
casual
me?
clothes. His casual clothes, he dresses like a hip hop rapper or something.
He dresses like a millennial. That's something I said during the Behind the Scene one. Like Mulder is the first. I know he's not age wise. He's a millennial. He just everything about him, the way he lives, the way he dresses, the way he acts. He's a millennial.
Yeah, but you see, he had the fitted. I think it was a fitted cap pulled around, right?
Yeah.
Fitted caps weren't like you had to go to a special store to get fitteds back then.
Mulder sitting outside for sneakers at 3 in the morning.
Sneaker
Yeah.
and Mulder.
This is the perfect, and we also get the the first thing, and I'm not going to try to imitate where she does the high pitch, like, God damn it, Mulder, aliens aren't real. But she gets that weird. I'm not going to try to imitate where she sounds like she's chewing the inside of her mouth, and this is like one of the their bits or whatever. Every episode's gonna have the God damn it, Mulder, you're jumping to conclusions.
Yes, that's great. I wanted to say that. Like this is right here. You're hitting on the introduction of the formula of the show, and every show does have a formula, but this is especially true of shows back then. Like if you're watching Gilligan's Island, you know what's going to happen. The professor is going to make a GPS out of coconuts, and then Gilligan's going to break it, and they're going to be stuck on an island. The Harlem Globetrotters are going to show up, but their boat's going to leave before they get. When the next show begins, they're still going to be on that damn island by themselves. Nothing can change.
Yeah, they will not have arrested Bigfoot at the end of any given week of the X-Files.
Yeah, exactly. The fluke man will still be large when the show ends. It's like this is you're seeing the formula. This is like probably the advertisement to the network when you're doing a pod. This is what the show's about. And she, Mulder's running off into the woods, even though there's alien abductions happening, without a care in the world. And she's back in her hotel room, going over her laptop computer and the evidence and all this stuff. And then this is when, I guess some people would call this fan service today, right? She discovers that there's something on her lower back. She feels something back there. She can't quite see it. This is the first time that. This is the first episode too, by the way. Gillian Anderson strips down to her underpants, and
well, first it looks like we're gonna get a shower scene, a TV shower.
Yeah, we're getting prime time friendly side butt, and
yes.
You get to see. They show her ass in underwear, and she's wearing a bra.
She's an extreme close up on the curves of her body for plot purposes, because she thinks she sees alien marks. Because, not important, but when they were driving through, the car stopped and they had a weird experience. So she's worried that maybe she was secretly abducted by aliens herself, and she goes to have Mulder examine her ass, not her ass, but like her lower back, while she's in her underpants, which is
lights are off, the rain is going, candlelight.
I want to point out he's completely unfazed by it too. Like he's
perfect autist.
Yeah. This moment was actually kind of shocking me because I watched the series sporadically, when it was on. I never really kind of sat through the whole thing. I never saw the pilot, and so this kind of struck me as so out of character for the tone of the show. But I guess in a pilot, when you're really just trying to make sure that the series sticks,
check it out.
Yeah.
That's a great point. I mean, there's a lot of respect for her later on, but I mean, this scene is like, she's a piece of meat. I mean, she is.
I want to call back to the first episode you guys did where like you're talking about how like they're always like they're not afraid to like show her on camera, but it's in this like very kind of respectful, like this woman's beautiful way. She's never like a piece of meat, like you just said.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. I mean, through the whole series, like there's a couple things that happen way too much. One of them is people giving people orders with a gun pointed at them. This is, and the other one is
the extreme close-ups on Gillian Anderson.
If they don't know what to do with the camera,
form.
Yeah, if they don't know what to do with the camera at any given time, they just park it on her face, which works. But like you said, that's her face. Which this ain't her face. This is her TNA. And she's like, hold me, Mulder, and all this kind of stuff.
Well, it turns out they were mosquito bites, and it's funny, whatever. But there's also they hug afterwards, which is pretty weird for your coworker that you just met. But whatever.
It was the 90s.
But he has no sort of like sexual reaction. He's just sort of like giggling and stuff.
He has a little bit of one when she first takes off her robe. He's got this look like, hey, but you get, like I said, it's part of the formula where it's like, there's always a little bit of sexual tension in between the two characters,
but he's like a teenage boy, kind of like almost like it's all. Plus, like we were talking about before, where we're like the goddamn it Mulder. Like before the goddamn it Mulder thing happens in every episode, when he's describing what he thinks happened, he gets into that like another thing, like sort of juvenile, sort of autistic thing, where it's like, and then the monster came and did it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like. He can be cool and collected, but when he gets excited about the investigating, he has this very juvenile thing.
Well, there's a reason for that, and this happens right after what we're talking about. They're chilling out in their hotel room by candlelight, and he confides into her that the whole reason he got into all this stuff was because when he was a teenager or child or whatever, he witnessed his sister's abduction, and that's why he's obsessed with UFOs. So it's like, you do kind of, and this happens throughout the show, you get the impression that he has arrested development. Like he is in some way a teenage boy mentally. Like he never really, people who have like, you would call it now PTSD. If something traumatic happens, a lot of times that can freeze your development and you don't really ever grow past it.
Yes. When you hear women with a little girl voice, they say that's like
the love line voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not presented like, well, I witnessed this. He says like, I didn't know what happened. It was really scary. And then I've been doing this like experimental
regression therapy.
Yeah. So it still sounds like, it could be total bullshit.
New age bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, this is very dark. Well, very well shot. The lighting was really good.
Yeah.
And now, like, I want to say when we got to the meet him, from like the point we meet him on, now we're in like it looks like the X-Files. It's generally dark.
Yeah, you need to do that for a lot of reasons. For one thing, the show took place mostly in the 90s when special effects were pretty basic, especially on TV shows. They just didn't have the money or the ability to put good special effects on TV shows. Like if your show's about monsters, you want nice, soft, dark lighting so they look better. Like this is the secret of Jurassic Park, right? Jurassic Park's a great movie. For like it was come out in 1990. They had amazing special effects. Like they were technically amazing. They had good computer graphics. It was all good, but they also like I don't say cheated, but they just everything happened in the dark and rain in Jurassic Park. And like that is like that's a huge buff to what you're trying to do here. You're trying to make a mood and you're trying to make things that look realistically scary. And that's the easy way to do it. You could have everything happen in the middle of the woods when it's dark and it's raining.
What do they call this? Like, so this is where, the Chris Carter said there's this director who did this very first episode. He established this look and they kept it, they modified it a little bit, but what do you call that? Like the look of the show, the way like,
I mean, now people would say gritty, but that's not, I don't like gritty because gritty implies like,
are you talking about like this, like, for lack of a better term, like the style guide of the show, like, if we're shooting this scene, this is kind of what
gloomy kind of.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know what the technical term is. I'm not that.
Yeah. Like if you're an action movie in the 2000s, you make everything blue and that whatever that is.
What happens next is a continuation of what is like the formula. But here's where like they do a really good job here, because like, this is like the cover up portion of the episode, and then man, they move it along with such an economy. I stopped and timed it. So within a sequence that goes a little bit over a minute, the wheelchair-bound witness sprints across the highway inexplicably and gets hit by a semi-truck. The exhumed body of the monkey/alien, we're not report, and all the reports and all the evidence, X-rays, I guess DNA evidence, all was destroyed. All was stolen or destroyed from the lab. And then Mulder and Scully go back to their motel room to find that they were burnt to the ground. There's nothing left. Every scrap of evidence that they had, her laptop, computer, all the files, all the crap, it's gone. And then, like, in 1 minute, there's a cover-up that's so successful, they're pretty much back to square one in their investigation.
What a coincidence.
This is sort of through the whole series, and, like, you know, sometimes more than others. Basically, it feels like, you know, the big Illuminati or whatever is kind of always watching them and always keeping them, you know, every film role that he ever takes in the whole series gets destroyed somehow.
It goes on further. Another witness has a dubstep marks, she comes forward, and she has a nosebleed too, like Hellbilly Elegy mentioned, but this one was it was really, the way they did it was really good, and Chris Carter even talked about it in his little extras thing, where they ran a tube down her head that disguised it as like a vein in her head, and it went behind her nose, and they put her just slightly profiled so you couldn't see the end of the tube, and just while she's not looking at the camera but close to looking at the camera, just blood starts gushing out of her nose. It was like I guess today that wouldn't be super impressive, but you didn't see that too much in 90s television shows. It was really
right.
It was a cool
especially
scene.
on a pilot where you're really shooting on like a shoestring budget.
She gets chased out and by her father and the sheriff's deputy, and they go back to the cemetery, and all the graves of the other victims who died are now empty. So like within this span of a few minutes, the cover up is pretty much completed.
Mulder tells her at the graveyard that the kid in the coma did it.
Yeah, he says that he's involved, and that's one of the plot. Maybe you guys picked up on something I didn't. That seemed like a flaw. Wow. What basis did he have for that? Was it just a Mulder hunch? Like, because it didn't really make sense in the world of the story. I didn't get where he came to that conclusion.
I didn't get that either. Only thing we got on that was, so the people that took the girl away was
medical examiner and the sheriff's deputy.
We know all these people that are all have been abducted. You know, they all went to the same high school, graduated same class, whatever. That's all we know. Yeah, it seems ridiculous. Scully has this thing where she has this sort of manic reaction to him explaining something that doesn't make sense. Which, by the way, before we go there, back to the scene earlier with the first time they went to the woods, when the guy pulled the gun on them, Mulder's reaction was like, okay, well, whatever. Her reaction was like, she looked like she was ready to shoot him.
Yeah, she held her gun on him for a while.
Yeah.
Mulder's crazy, totally unsupported hunch is right, and they find out because Scully examines the catatonic guy's feet, and they're covered in the exact kind of soil that was in the woods. You know, everybody in the hospital insists it would be impossible for this person to get out of bed and leave without them knowing, but all the rest of their evidence is gone. So, as Mulder points out to Scully, like, she wants to say, well, I'm going to just fill out a report right now because we found the soil on his feet. We know he was there, and Mulder was
she's bought it 100%.
Well, no, she's good at her job. She's like, I'm going to report what happened, and he goes, you understand, you have no other evidence, and you're going to say that the coma boy got up and like ran around and killed people, and you have to give that report to J. Edgar Hoover yourself with your name attached to it.
Yeah, he kind of flips on her because like here she actually has, you know, some physical evidence, but it's not conclusive.
It's like a welcome to my life.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it is. Yeah.
He tells her like yes,
she's living the Mulder experience.
Yeah, he's like, okay, you believe all this right now. You're ready to make this report. Okay. what's going to happen when you go make this report? What do you really have? Because they're going to, this sounds really, and the way he lays out what she has, and it does sound really stupid when he lays it out.
They have no leads. They just, let's go back to the woods.
Well, she says, he says, well, you lost the sample of the dirt, so we need to get, she says, well, I'll just go get another sample of the dirt.
We'll get more sample of the dirt, and we'll have the 2 samples we can put together. So they go back in the woods, because that's the only lead they have left. And here's where you get, like, this is like the classic X-Files. Yes. Not quite ending, but like the crescendo of the episode, right? There are bright lights, and they're running towards them, and Scully gets knocked over the head and falls down. But Mulder,
there's that terrible like generator noise of some like machinery. Yeah.
What was that stupid electrical instrument that you would that like the Doctor Who theme was made out of?
Oh, the theremin?
Yeah, it's not quite theremin, but it reminds you of that, right? It's like you just associate the sound with space aliens.
Yeah.
And Scully's out of it, she's knocked out, she can't go, but Mulder gets up and he sees the entire thing. He sees the scene that is an alien abduction. The coma boy is just going buck wild, running, carrying the other victim. They run into this clearing, and then there's a scene that it was so well shot. They have like this whirlwind of leaves flying around them while this strange light comes down from above them and covers everything. And like, if you film this today, like a 12-year-old kid with like Adobe After Effects could do it. It would be so easy. You just say, okay, I want to generate the swirling leaf pattern 3, right? Like, this is 1993. Imagine, like, what a pain in the ass it was to create digital leaves that flew around people in a circle. And in this weird lighting that washed everything out. There was no Adobe plug-in to do that. They had to do that stuff the hard way.
But, I mean, you're giving too much credit to modern special effects. I don't think... first, the special effect looks really good.
Yeah.
I saw him say that there were real leaves, and there were digital leaves.
Yeah.
I don't know how they did the real leaves.
I mean, you can create a dust devil if you with like
big fan or something.
Yeah, but not the way that
it's so tight, like it's so focused.
And there's people standing in the middle of it.
Yeah.
I just love stuff like that.
Looks fantastic. Yeah. So I think the 2 big special effects this episode, you have the nosebleed and the leaf scene, right? And by the way, she does get up and she just sees lights. That's it.
Yeah, she gets there after everything has happened, so she sees weird lights. Mulder sees he sees Bigfoot like he always does. And she just never can quite get there in time to see it. And, there's a happy ending. The aliens return the boy, and, nobody else has to die.
No one additional dies.
There's no more. Yeah, we've got narrowed it down like 3 people brutally murdered. That's it. It's a W for the X-Files.
Right. We go to the interrogation scene, which they later said he was hypnotized. I didn't really pick that up during the so he gets interrogated at FBI headquarters, it looks like, and he says basically that there were aliens that were abducting these people to do genetic tests on them, and then like aliens are basically canceling the tests, and they were having this boy go kill all the test subjects, right?
Like they were venture capitalists, and they're going to pull their funding.
Layoffs.
Yeah, the coma boy IPO didn't go as well as we hoped.
The rest of the teenagers are not going forward.
I know. I'm guessing this leads into the later trope of the series, which is that like the main goal of all these different forces, alien and not, they're trying to create an alien human hybrid. And I'm guessing that was part of that. It doesn't really matter, but I just want to like ask, like Hellbilly Elegy, is this something that existed before? I know it's a trope now.
Yeah, no, this was something that was kind of like in a lot of the UFO literature that kind of preceded and inspired all of this. Like the whole idea that like there was some sort of experimenting, and specifically like the cross pollination of human and alien genetic material was absolutely an established thing by this point.
So I probably, because of the X-Files, I think I I got into like reading about these UFO stuff when I was a young like teen, I guess.
Same.
Yeah, so you saw look. There's this really common theme throughout abduction stories. It's always weirdly sexual. Sometimes it's explicitly sexual, like people stuck stuff on me and did these things to me. The aliens did this and that, and like there's these worries that they're trying to implant you with alien seed or trying to make alien. Like there's this really sexualized undercurrent to abduction stories. Like I think that's. I mean, we don't have to explain why, right? Like there's probably a reason for that,
Yeah,
right?
well, the theory for like specifically abduction stories is that this is the brain goes into a dissociated state to protect someone from a sexual assault, so that they don't really experience, because it would be too traumatic. So instead, it's like this alien thing, which I believe a human mind is capable of.
Or in the case of like if you're talking about the in-universe story of Agent Mulder, like he witnesses his sister being abducted and he has PTSD from this, and it's weird, foggy. He has to get a hypnotist to do hypnotic regression therapy, which, by the way, now I don't know if anyone ever thought that this is really a good thing to do, that you get accurate information. The consensus now is that you can basically make people invent new memories this way. And
right. I mean, that was like the whole.
Purpose.
That was the whole thing behind like the Satanic Panic was like, you know.
That's where like when I hear myself say that, I'm like, well, I don't know if I buy the story that there was a Satanic Panic anymore. Like those stories seem more plausible to me now than they did like 10 or 15 years ago. But yeah, the idea that you could, because like there have been cases of people who've gone through hypnotic regression therapy that were not involved in like government conspiracy, just like something that maybe happened to you when you were young,
right? Or even just like a part of like normal therapy. People have tried it and stuff like that.
Yeah, and so, but anyway, it's kind of a dark direction to take things. Yeah, the FBI, when agents would completely dismiss Agent Scully's testimony because she doesn't have any evidence, and they're basically telling her, we're going to just throw this in the garbage
down.
bin. Yeah, but she has the ace in the hole. She gets out of her pocket a little vial, and it has the metal implant that she found in the Monkey Man body, and she says, I had this tested in the FBI lab, and they cannot determine what kind of metal it's made out of. And she hands it over to them, and this is, you can tell by the way they're looking at her and she's looking at them that she realizes, oh shit, the crazy guy's not crazy. They really are trying to cover this stuff up.
Right.
Like they don't want this evidence. They're not happy that I have this evidence. If like we're doing the job that we're supposed to do, and I say, Hellbilly Elegy, I have this implant from a space alien, you should be like, hell yeah, man, we're gonna break this wide open. This is
awesome.
Amazing. But they're acting like she just brought them a tube full of dookie. She's not they're not happy about it. It goes back to the original theme that like she's way better at her job than they wanted her to be. Her job was to go in and be a hatchet man for the FBI. Just shut him down, make him shut up, and this way we can take the senator or whatever and say, hey, we investigated it with a medical doctor and she said it was bullshit. Please stop bothering us. And by the way, increase our funding.
And she would, by the way, if she hadn't have done that, she would have done her job perfectly, even though unwittingly.
No, mission accomplished.
Yeah,
because she's not going to put things in a report that are speculative, at least at this point. So the report would have been like, this guy's crazy, nothing happened. Three kids died. Then we have the scene. So this is the smoking man's there the whole time. It was impressive. I remember. So I didn't watch the pilot first, and so when I saw the pilot, I was impressed that they had the smoking man was there from the beginning.
Yeah, that was a very strong and gutsy move to put that like literally like in the first shot of the series.
Yes, and he takes the sample back, and he's got like a Funko Pop collection of
Like he quite literally has the Raiders of the Lost Ark room. Yeah,
the Raiders of the Lost Ark warehouse. Exactly what I thought about when I saw that. He takes their paperwork and their Monkey Man sample, and he takes it in this big ass warehouse, like looks exactly like the Raiders of the Lost Ark ending, and he puts it in there. He walks out. He closes the door, and this is a great shot. This is why people still like and talk about the X-Files, because when he closes the door, you see like the nameplate or whatever, and it's like this is like the Pentagon's fire escape directions, right?
Yeah.
It's like this is in the Pentagon. This guy works for the Department of Defense or something even bigger than that, and he's stashing away all this evidence inside literally the Pentagon. This is one of the reasons why when we were talking about Beyond the Seas, I said like the military is kind of, they're not explicitly the bad guys, but like they're more the bad guys than the FBI. And this really fits with the air. Like people not trusting the FBI in 93.
I literally have this noted down. Like you could not have picked a better time to air this pilot because like you're months after Ruby Ridge and Waco.
And months before, I think it was months before Waco or
this aired after Waco, I have written down. But
it all aired. The first season airs around the time of Waco and the Oklahoma City bombing.
Yeah, so like if you're looking for like your real world tie-in for your government skepticism alien hour, like you could not have picked like a better time to air this.
It would be going too far to say this introduced the concept of the deep state to regular people.
Oh no, definitely not.
No, yeah, absolutely not. I mean, and that's the way they picture him. I mean, when you look at the way like the deep state, like the origins of it and stuff in the United States, it's the way that they used to picture it is that basically there was these people called the WASPs. They were the Mayflower people. And the United States government was just sort of like the family business. And that like, if you were related to so-and-so, if you were, the Rockefeller nephew, then you could like, just walk onto the FBI campus and tell people what to do and shit. And, all your cousins are senators. Everyone's gone to West Point, et cetera. And these people aren't necessarily the richest people in the world, but the U.S. government itself is just sort of like the mafia for the WASPs.
Yeah, see, this guy, he gets the 23andMe, he gets 0.4%, and now he's like, I'm in the shadow and the Presbyterians are keeping me down. This kind of slander has gone on too long.
All right, but no, this was the perception. This is the
the Good Shepherd, the Good Shepherd thing. Yeah, and I mean, and the FBI, the FBI was created as this is inflammatory and going too far, but it's fun to say, the death squad to kill off people like Bonnie and Clyde and Machine Gun Kelly, right? We need you, please go stop these people. We cannot do anything with them. They're going across state lines. They're wreaking havoc. J. Edgar Hoover, you can have basically unlimited power. Just get rid of these people, and he did it. He did that, and he got a lot of cachet from that. He was able to install himself as the head of the secret police of the United States until he died in office and his files were burnt. There was a great, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but H.R. Haldeman, who worked for Richard Nixon, kept the diary of Nixon's presidency. And like when Hoover died during his presidency, like everybody's just like, thank God this guy's dead. Like now maybe we'll have some, like we won't be blackmailed because this guy had blackmail material on everybody in the country. It's like the FBI never had a spotless record. However, if you were making a television show, and they did, by the way, like the stuff show, like the FBI story television show, the FBI they were good guys. And this was more plausible in that time period. By the time the 90s rolled around, for one thing, you had the very well documented FBI investigation of civil rights leaders, which liberals took a lot of umbrage to, including Martin Luther King. They already got a bad rap for that, but they were also, for reasons we just said, not particularly liked by people on the right either.
Right. This is like, it's weird, Rage Against the Machine or like far left people. This is people talk about this a lot. They're like, down with the WTO. Like far left people and far right people would have both agreed that in something like a perception of the FBI that is on this show.
I think there's a progression in time from like the FBI story that these are the John Wayne type heroes of law enforcement to the X-Files we're talking about now, which is like, well, they're doing cover-ups, they're kind of bad, but they're not all bad. I think as the show goes on, the FBI becomes more evil, for lack of a better term.
100%.
But this is the funny thing. I don't know if you guys, I don't watch much new stuff at all, but there was like one thing that I did watch that was kind of about the subject, the show Mindhunters, right? You guys heard of this,
yes,
right?
I've seen it.
Yeah,
No.
it's a good show, and it's about FBI profilers. The first FBI profilers, really, who like went around and talked to serial killers, and they're developing profiles at the time in like the late '70s, early '80s, where this didn't really exist. They're doing a new thing, and it's rehabilitating the image of the FBI, and that's not a coincidence that this happened. I think the show started in 2015, 16, whatever, around the time of peace be upon him, the King of America's election. The FBI suddenly started getting rehabilitated by people who had hated the FBI since the '70s, '60s, and '70s. Suddenly, like they're going around finding people who hurt women and stuff. And now I think if you ask, well, no, you don't have to think. You can look at polls. The opinion of the FBI is pretty much the mirror inverse that it would have been in 1955, 1960.
You don't even have to pull. Dick Wolf has 3 different FBI series out on TV right now. So
Yeah, like you said, so Prohibition starts in January 1920, and the FBI starts in 24. Basically,
Yeah.
Prohibition created a massive amount of organized crime in the United States. The FBI, I think most of the FBI people like is when it's something in between like a futuristic laboratory for normal police, right? So the FBI will do tests on like on guns and stuff and say, well, this is what cops should carry. Also, they will develop, forensic techniques and stuff like that, where this is just normal police work, right? Where they're like a helping normal police lab stuff. But see, also this normal police stuff is by the time of the 60s and stuff. You could just look at someone like, obviously JFK is a big deal, but JFK is sort of, regardless of what happened, there are members of organized crime are very powerful in the 60s. And so organized crime has a lot of power. They are funding candidates, etc. So in other words, there's normal crime and politics are already sort of enwrapped in the 60s. Basically, when politics mixes with the FBI, this is when it's sort of dangerous and scary and not good.
Well, and Hoover did that probably from the very beginning, and this is one of his iron law of the institution things, where it's like after the end of not only Prohibition but the end of the, I don't know, there probably is a word for this, but like these roving outlaws who would go from state to state. It was kind of novel because transportation really wasn't that possible before, and police, like, okay, if it's 1931 and we go rob a bank in New Jersey with our buddy Hellbilly, and then we just hop across state lines and we go down into Pennsylvania, we're probably going to get away with it because
right.
the police have no forensics. They don't even have radios in their cars most of the time. We'll just go there and do this, and they would do rob banks and circuits all around the Midwest, and this was not a thing before, and you needed somebody to deal with this. But once that problem was over, and it was pretty much over by the middle of the 30s, there was not necessarily a need to continue with the FBI. And Hoover went into like beast mode then, where he's getting, political blackmail material and just politicking very hard. Like, hey, now you need me to stop the fascists and the communists, whatever. He stayed in, he's one of those figures that we talk about who died in office because he burned his way into the government and never let go. I'm sure that something like the FBI would exist no matter what, but it's extremely broad interest. Like, they have an intelligence service now. Basically, they are functioning as the secret police of the United States. That's not necessary and didn't have to be. It survived the Church Committee when the CIA took a big hit. I think that's a consideration, that these things didn't happen necessarily organically. A lot of it came about because there was one guy who was super stoked to become, the head of the KGB of the United States.
So I'm going to actually, you kind of like put something in my head just there of the other thing you have, like the FBI involved in a lot that kind of made them, popular, and sort of what you're talking about with Mindhunters is serial killers. And do you remember how like kind of like right before this was airing in the 90s, you also had a lot of like those like horror thrillers like, you know, Silence of the Lambs, Seven, like all of those were also kind of all coming out around the same time. So I don't know, it feels like we were in some sort of like 20-year cycle of the FBI being cool or not cool.
Well, there's a theory about this, and I talked about previously when these mass shooters, like these were part of a pot, like yeah, there were memes. They were meme crimes. When the idea of the serial killer became popularized, there were a lot more serial killings. Like when they started, when the idea of a profiler became public knowledge,
Right.
guys, like more people
Suddenly
were.
we found more serial killers.
This is a way to it's a way to say this is an important job, you need to keep paying us money, but also it's like this is a way I can become famous. Bonnie and Clyde were not just in it to make money, they wanted to be famous. Like they were celebrity hunters. So like this, being a state hopping outlaw in the 30s is a way to become famous. Being a serial killer was a way to become famous in the 70s. Political assassinations were a way to become famous in the 60s. Obviously school shootings for the 90s, and now just mass shootings in general in our time. These all things were motivated, like they were kind of part of the same process. Like what you said about the FBI being cool or not cool. Yeah, whatever the new meme crime is, the FBI is on the cutting edge of make sure they're going to protect you from it. Like now, they're going to protect you from the legions of the secret KKK that are hiding behind every telephone pole in your neighborhood.
Thank God.
By the way, so obvious, I have this certain interest in this, the Tammany Hall and
I hadn't heard that really.
Real total news to me.
I'm just hearing this for the first time.
Yes. So this is, before I sort of said that, like, there's this, the good FBI is helping in organized crime because nobody likes crime, right? So people don't like being mugged and all this kind of stuff.
Some people on Twitter,
it's your stuff, bro.
Some people on Twitter apparently do like it, but yeah, most normal people don't.
Right. But there's this thing to this. So the FBI was basically like the organized crime fighting squad. However, I mean, there's a.
I'm sorry. I'm just imagining somebody in a dark alley and like he's just being shanked by a homeless guy. He's like laughing. This is such a big Apple experience. I can't believe it.
But we have there's a weird nuance of American history. So like the five families in New York, the mafia, who not only have their own history, but they also sort of like created a models for how organized crime works and all this kind of stuff. Well, they came from originally like the gangs of New York stuff, like the 5 Points gang and stuff. That got started because basically Tammany Hall and stuff would pay people to basically be muscles and protect the strike lines. I don't know what you call that.
Picket lines?
Yeah, right. To protect that, you pay these thugs to protect the picket lines, and obviously there is a mass. And so, like from day one, you already have Tammany Hall, which is also a massive innovator in American politics. I mean, you can see this. Joe Biden has kind of, I mean, I'm not saying exactly Tammany Hall, but that kind of background, and it sort of created a lot of ways that so politics and organized crime have been like wrapped up together from day one. From like the very first day that like the first time a guy from Tammany Hall hands cash money to some thugs and organized crime is created, it's always had politics involved.
Yeah, I want to switch gears and ask Hellbilly Elegy something because I know he knows things about this. I was looking before we were going to record the show. I wanted to look up the ratings that the pilot episode of the X-Files got because there wasn't a lot of hype behind the show.
No, it was a weird, like I said. So crash course in television ratings. Like, do you guys know what it means when like they say, oh, this show got like a 10.8 on Thursday? Do you guys know like what that actually refers to measurement wise?
Absolutely not.
Cool. So that number is basically just a percentage of like the available television viewers at that time.
The share.
Yeah. So, like, if a 10.8 would mean, like, of all the people that could hypothetically be watching TV at this time, 10.8% of them were watching this show. So I, looked up into this because, again, I'm on the business side of television broadcasting. So historically, at the time this is airing, the number for like a top show then, like Seinfeld at that point, was like a 20. So that means of all the TVs that were opted into like the Nielsen service, 20% of them would be watching Seinfeld on Thursday night. X-Files for its first pilot and pretty much most of its first season was at like a 7, which is absolutely abysmal at that time period. Like that, like every other show like near in the rings at that time got axed like after one season. Like the fact that this survived is very strange, but I will say, if you compared it now, like
Yes.
now
12 million people watched the pilot episode of the X-Files. Is NCIS the most popular show on today?
yes, so NCIS right now is a 10. A normal show right now, like an average like primetime sitcom that it gets like 3 or 4 seasons, pulls like a 3. So like X-Files at its peak was pulling a 10.9. So like to kind of put that in scale, like that is like literally what NCIS draws right now. So that is like the top like non-sports broadcast on TV right now. Oh, I'm sorry. I actually have, during its peak, X-Files was pulling a 19.8. So that's like Clemson versus the cast of Stranger Things. Like that is just like impossible numbers that any TV exec would just die of priapism if they're pulling. But what in its first season, like for the pilot, it was getting.
Hey, don't skip ahead. The guy who causes people to get fatal priapisms is from season 3.
Oh, right. Well, before we even got to priapism guy, actually I was pulling like a 7, so
That must have been during sweeps week.
Yeah.
So NCIS today is the Michael Jordan of television shows. They get 8.45 million viewers in a country of 330 million people. The
Right.
X-Files pilot show, no one had ever seen this show. No one knew what it was about. They didn't know Gillian Anderson was hot or anything like that. It got 12 million viewers in a country of, I believe it was like 250 million people.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, the reason for this is there's a lot more media to consume. People don't have to watch, 4 networks.
Exactly.
Or people had cable, obviously, in 93. However, not everybody had cable. That wasn't universal. So most people watched network TV. It's not the case anymore. This is one of the we've talked about this a few times before. There's no more monoculture. This is probably a overlooked serious problem with the United States, or I guess the West or whatever in general, because you could, if you watched television shows from the 50s and early 60s, like every show had the same moral philosophy, more or less. You were getting the same message. Everybody was watching that if they were watching TV. Everybody's on the same page. This is who we are. We're Gunsmoke. We're Andy Griffith. This is
right.
who we are as a people. Now everybody can watch whatever they want. That's not in a vacuum a bad thing. But here's the deal. Like today on Fox News, the Greg Gutfeld show that comes on at like 10 or 11, whatever. It comes on the same time the Tonight Show comes on. Mm-hmm. The show that used to have Johnny Carson and Jay Leno. It gets higher ratings than the Tonight Show because, like, if you're a conservative person, you don't watch the Tonight Show anymore. And if you're a liberal person, obviously you are watching the Tonight Show. Like, you have 2 separate media worlds that people see.
Yeah, it's entirely different streams at this point.
You see different news. Everybody got their news, for better or worse, from Peter Jennings when the X-Files was on. Even if you were the most conservative person or the most liberal, you got your news from him, and we could debate whether that was good or bad, but at least everybody kind of lived in the same cinematic universe, which they do not today.
Well, I mean, there's obviously good and bad to that, and I think speaking for us, I think it's
very good. Yes.
Yeah,
don't watch television. Listen to Good Old Boys podcast, please.
Yes, we get to make shows. I think the main bad thing about it. And I think the freedom is better, but the main bad thing about, one of the things is like I shows, they don't get the same budgets that they got back then, do they?
Good question.
I mean, I want to say they're actually not too different, like accounting, for obviously inflation and, cost of things naturally going up. But to my knowledge, like your average like primetime network broadcast show probably has about a similar budget to what a primetime network show had at around that point.
TV was kind of semi-low status back then, but it's not today. Today, TV is very. There was a period, I guess, before the Marvel movies took off, where kind of being like in a prestige TV show was better than being a film actor. And
Yes.
there's like I guess if you were a person who really cares about the artistic merits of acting, that's probably still true. Like if there whatever the Sopranos is for today, I don't know, whatever prestige TV show is good, they're probably doing more exciting things than the biggest hit movie of 2023 will be, because it's going to be another Disney movie about like I don't know, let's say the Black Mamba, right? Whatever, like some superhero you never heard of, and like it's going to be an AI could have constructed it. It's going to be the same thing that you've seen a billion times, and it'll make literally $1 billion.
I mean, I really don't think like, specifically on the network side, because that's where I work. And I don't think it's actually changed too much in terms of like perception or even what the networks are looking for. Like you're not really looking for like anything particularly provocative for like primetime network broadcasts, because again, these exist to sell advertising spots.
Old people.
Yeah, you're trying to sell advertising to old people, so you really don't want like, just going to say Breaking Bad because that's what came to the top of mind, and also because Vince Gilligan was a writer on the X-Files. But yeah, you're not going to put that on like broadcast, network TV, nor would anyone on broadcast network TV ever pick up something like that. Like they really want something that just a consistent group of mostly normal people are going to like tune in and watch, which again makes it all the more surprising that X-Files made it past a single season. And my theory for this, honestly, is it was a very different show. It was a very weird show, and it also had the timing of people kind of getting onto the internet in a social capacity for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And when we kind of like mentioned this before, and we kind of pushed it to, I guess about now makes sense, but like this really was like one of the first like fandom shows of the modern era, where you had people kind of actively trying to discuss and figure out specifically where the show was going and what was going to happen. Like you had shows that people were fans of, but we're going back to the Gilligan's Island example, like you weren't sitting around at the lunch table wondering if they were going to get off the island next week. Whereas like here, you're leading off with like this expansive, or moreover, you don't want them to get off the island next week because then there's no more show. It's done. It's over. So yeah, so I think this was like the first time where, the pilot led off with like this very explicit, central plot and, mythology that, we're going to be like, strap in, we're going to be digging into this. And so you really did have people kind of actually wondering for the first time in television. I think, with some, obviously there were, again, we're going back to soap operas where, we did have like serialized storytelling, but this is kind of like serialized storytelling in the age of the early internet. So I think that was something that did not go missed by the Fox network executives. And they kind of saw it for like the inevitable cult hit it was going to be. And, that's a reliable viewing audience. So therefore it gets to stay.
I'm laughing because I just looked this up. In 2018, so that was 4 years ago, the median age of the the median age of a young Sheldon viewer, the television show Young Sheldon on CBS, was 57.4. And the median age of TV viewers for broadcast TV was about 59, I think. Yeah. 59 years old. So, and that was in 2015.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's probably gotten as the country's age itself is aging, but I'm sure that that's probably even higher now. So like you are quite literally, trying to get the the old people to pay attention to your television show.
You're specifically trying to retain the old people. Like the people that are still watching broadcast TV at this point are going to keep watching broadcast TV unless you royally screw something up. So
well, I just want to say, like, so I did not watch the show like at all during its run, but I knew through like people that were cool watched the show. Yeah. So my cousin was cool. He was like one of the coolest guys in school, and he watched it. And I know specifically, like you were talking about discussing it. Cool. Well, they love especially the Smoking Man. I don't think he is sort of retained this kind of thing, but people were very interested in. What's the Smoking Man? What's he doing? And also, like, I would watch MTV during this time, and I did not watch X-Files, but it looks like MTV would just like assume that anybody of that same age bracket was also an X-Files viewer. Also, you have you have like two video games, like a PlayStation game and stuff, and there's not a Gilligan's Island. Actually, there is.
There is literally a Gilligan's Island video game.
There's an NES game, Gilligan's Island. But there's a cool like Silent Hill type game for PlayStation. But it was cool.
Yeah, the Hellbilly Elegy's point about like the internet probably did play a big role in this, because at the time the show was there, you could get on if you were in college and a dork, you could get on Usenet and you could talk about what you think could happen in the X-Files. Like you said, if we're talking about Gilligan's Island, you weren't sending teletypes to the Georgia Tech University to ask them if you think the professor's going to come through this time. That just didn't exist.
Yeah.
And also, like, it was a great point that you made, Bog Beef, like the osmosis. I never watched NYPD Blue ever. I never watched it. But, like, I know through osmosis that the fat guy, showed his butt on television. Because, like, everybody talked about it. I am not sure that we will ever see that again. The closest thing was probably the Game of Thrones TV show that a lot of people talked about. But that was on HBO, so a lot of people didn't see it. Maybe The Sopranos. Breaking Bad, despite being an excellent television show and serialized, and this is exactly the kind of thing you talk about, I never heard anybody around me talk about that show at all. People online talked about it like crazy.
Yeah, no, same experience here.
All I assume it's the same for you, Merrick. Rural people or people around me, I'm not rural, but it's like the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Everyone likes that Yellowstone.
Oh my God. Yeah. That is
the boomer cinematic universe.
Yeah. Somebody online described that as Succession for Republicans. And like, that is such an amazing, I've never seen, like, again, this is like one of those things where if you're online.
Yeah, it's separate streams. Yeah.
People talk about Succession and how great it is. I've never seen an episode of it, and I never will. But like, I know that basically the plot of Succession and the plot of Yellowstone like are very similar. They're about the same things. Like, you just have, like you said, separate streams. There's hey, are you kind of a progressive-ish, whatever, urban person? Here's your version. And if you want to watch Kevin Costner pretend to be a cowboy again, here you go. Yeah. Here you go, Tucker viewers. Enjoy.
Yeah. Do you know who Dasha is? You're watching Succession. Do you not? You're watching Yellowstone.
I know 50 Cent produces, like, he's had like 2 or 3 and it's like just like a drama show for black people, basically.
Was that Empire?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, I'm not sure.
That was on the list of shows that had, like, by age, it was the youngest median viewer age, which is interesting. Of the I don't know what the story behind that is, but it was like they were clocking in at a spry 48 years old. A youthful 48.
Now, I was watching Duchovny, and I'm not remembering exactly right, but he was talking about that. He said he was hesitant to take the show because once you got labeled as a TV guy, you were going to be TV guy forever. Mm-hmm. And he was talking. Now he said one of the things that made him take the role. I know he couldn't have said NYPD Blue because it started at the same time as X-Files. Some kind of prestige show had just, I guess this was that, what were you saying, had just started?
Twin Peaks, right?
Yeah, I'm guessing, so he's saying like things
well,
like
she was also on.
That is interesting. Yeah.
There was a cross-dresser on that show, right?
Yeah.
And so like there was something changing in TV and that people were more committed to tell these like real stories, etc.
I mean, the thing is, prestige TV had existed before, like, like shows like I don't know if Hill Street Blues was kind of prestigious, right? But it wasn't serialized, I don't think. But it was kind of like smart people watched that show, even though it was a cop show. It's like they
When did
existed
Miami Vice come out?
in the '80s, and that was definitely not.
84 to 89.
Was definitely not a prestige show. That was like for people. That was for
Or
us.
disagree.
I don't know. I mean, it's kind of like halfway there. I mean, have you seen the pilot?
Yeah. Yes. I just think that's a chud show. I really do.
I don't know, man. I mean, it is a step up. I like Dukes of Hazzard, but it is like it's in between.
Yeah, that's a minstrel show for us. Like you can't really. Really compare.
Miami Vice is in between Dukes of Hazzard and my PD Blue of seriousness. I mean,
Yeah, you can put it. You can lump Deuce Hazard in with like Hee Haw. That's explicitly just for us. I mean, not that you guys can't enjoy that too. I'm just saying they were laser focused on the demographic for that.
Until the rural purge.
Yeah, that would be a good thing to talk about
Oh,
sometime.
yeah. Ooh, we should definitely talk about that.
yeah. So things that. So first off, this pilot is really good,
Yeah.
right? Is it? I mean, is it like? Do you think it's like all time good, or pilots generally tend to be good?
No, pilots tend to be not good, honestly.
Pilots tend to be crap. Like I think this is definitely one of the better pilots. I'll say that. Like I don't know if is like a best episode sort of list episode, but in terms of like if you're just ranking like pilots, I think this is a very solid one. It's surprisingly straightforward for, alien procedural drama, and clearly it resonated and obviously it was successful. And I think a lot of that does owe to the pilot and the sort of curiosity it's spawned. So I'd say it's a very successful pilot.
Yeah, they knocked it out of the park. I mean, it might not be an all-time great, but like sometimes TV pilots will, the next episode, the real episode, they'll have recasted roles completely. They'll have changed.
It'll completely change tone. The network will have gone in and
given them
made
notes and
all
ruined
their
it.
yeah.
Well, and also the characters who aren't recast, like Mulder and Scully in this episode, they're Mulder and Scully. Like you could they're recognizably Mulder and Scully from the rest of the show. They don't.
Yeah, they kept that surprisingly consistent from start to finish. Like you said, they're very recognizable. Like I went back and watched the episode that you guys first reviewed, and then I watched this one, and they're the same characters, even though it's kind of flipped a bit, character wise. It's still hitting all the beats. They really managed to kind of like get their formula in like a single shot, which is a lot better than most TV shows do, I think.
I want to say something a little spicy about this show that I noticed it with the Beyond the Sea, especially in the moment in that episode where he like touches her face when they're in the office, which is, it wouldn't have been, it wasn't out of place in '93, but it was today. Also, just forgetting the part where she comes into his motel room in her underwear. When Mulder will act crazy or do dumb stuff, and like he turns around and he walks away, she'll like smile at him, like just very affectionately, like she really likes him in a way that it's not sexual, but it's kind of romantic, like she's got a crush on him to some extent from the beginning.
I'll buy that, yeah.
There was this thing that happened in television and movies in the last, we'll say 30 years, where this has always been a part of movies. Like, what's the John Wayne movie where basically it's the taming of the shrew? I forget which one it is, where he's got a horrible harpy wife, and he just like breaks her down and makes her into a trad wife by the end of it. That existed a lot in movies. There was like the bitchy wife who becomes a good wife or whatever. You tame her and she's blah blah blah. But like the thing that happens now in shows is that there's this weird conflict where women kind of act like they're insulting and they don't like the male characters in the show. Like there's this antagonistic relationship. It might not be serious, but it's like if this show was filmed today, when Mulder made some weird comment about aliens to turn around, she wouldn't smile. She would like roll her eyes. She would be annoyed that this guy's wasting her time.
So I just thinking of this now and kind of seeing and raising like that, I feel like there's sort of like a lost art of ambiguity and kind of like gray space that like their relationship exists in for the entirety of the series. Like it's not 100% platonic, not really romantic, but just kind of like in this, weird state, and that it's totally fine to leave it there, that I think just does not exist now. Like, it either has to split one direction where these people are just absolutely never getting together, or they absolutely are, and it's inevitable and telegraphed for like 6 straight seasons. I really think that kind of zone is lost in terms of being able to sort of write a character dynamic that just would not happen today.
I want to bang on the desk and say, yes, you're right again, and people can make memes of the rattling microphone like they did the first time. Like, you're so right, because even before Me Too, this was a thing where it was like, basically, if you had that kind of relationship at work on camera, this didn't apply in the 90s and probably even the early 2000s, but by the time we get to the late 2000s, 2010s, whatever, that was kind of it's like, isn't it technically a violation of HR to be that way now? And certainly after Me Too, you can get fired for being in that nether region. You have to very explicitly, going by the rules, not how people act. I'm not naive about this. People are still banging at the office and getting into relationships. Like, the doctrine of corporate America is now that's not allowed whatsoever. And beyond even like the workplace aspect, there's this weird concept that it's not weird. We know why men and women are supposed to kind of be competing and antagonistic towards each other. The show, maybe in the later seasons that I don't remember, it got into this, but like that, Mulder has privileges or whatever, and she's more accomplished than him, and she doesn't get recognition and stuff. That doesn't happen in the show that I remember. Like, they have a very convivial relationship, or convivial.
That happens. So they touched that a little bit in like season 3. There's sort of like they play. It's just a tiny little bit, and it's not that much. They have a ton of chemistry, and the way their relationship.
Yeah.
I've had a job where I had a relationship like this.
Of
and
course, I mean, this is if you're heterosexual, you have relationships like this with people of the opposite sex all the time. Nobody who's not autistic has to have everything so clearly defined.
So I was this was kind of like it's basically a seasonal job, but it's the kind of thing where during the season you're at work like every waking second.
Yeah,
I mean,
and one of those jobs where there's more people at certain times of the year than there is, at other times of the year.
It was a business that made like half their profit in the span of 3 weeks.
Yeah,
half the yearly.
I remember you doing that.
Yeah, we remember.
Yeah, and there was this woman there, and like I spent like every moment, with her there. We would sleep together and stuff. But it was like this. It was just kind of like, still most of the time you're just sort of at work, and you're other people at work. They, someone that came up to work and was like, you've done it before, right? And I was like, I was shocked that they could know, because all they knew was just kind of like the chemistry of like how we talked to each other at work or whatever. But we were very serious and got a lot done. And I just thought it was very well done, because that's how it would be like when I was in that situation, it wasn't like, hang up the phone, forget the work, I'm going to do something, or, you know what I mean?
Right.
It was, I just thought it was great. That was great.
And I'm going to cover my ass. Like, I know the concept of stuff they call like work wife, work husband. There are these kind of nether region things still happening now. I don't think that it's portrayed the same way anymore. And we all know why. The people who make these shows, ultimately they want us to hate each other. Like that's like, they want us to be some kind of conflict. It's weird. It's bizarre.
I'm going to be a little less pessimistic than you in this. I really think it's more of just, actually, I don't know if it's more pessimistic or not, but I think it's more of like a death of nuance in general entertainment.
That's a good point.
TV didn't make it up. I mean, this is something that came from the universities and the law, by the way.
Well,
the law.
But he's right. Like, so think about who was one of the big shot writers of both TV and some films, like in the late 90s and through the 2000s until he got canceled recently. Joss Whedon, right? He is to the writing profession what Aaron Sorkin is, except Aaron Sorkin is like all about liberal politics, but Joss Whedon is all about making soap operas where there's like a woman who acts like a man. And his dialogue, he would write these dialogues that are just no human being communicates that way. It's
No.
these little snarky word plays and stuff. Very like Sorkin.
It was like Gilmore Girls on meth. It was just like
Yes, perfect. Yeah, and like what happens is like he became very popular. Aaron Sorkin obviously became very popular. Aaron Sorkin's dialogue is fucking terrible. Like it's like he makes George Lucas look like somebody has a natural talent for understanding the human soul. It's just it's awful, and he was for a time one of the biggest, most famous TV writers. TV writers who come up, see, this is what makes you famous. You write like they do. You write their stilted, stupid ass dialogue, and that's how you'll get ahead. That's what people like, and that's probably part of this too. And that's like the death of nuance. There is nothing nuanced about this. They'll have people just announce how they feel about something, like it was stage direction, right? Like, I'm going to explain to you why this makes me mad. Well, that's not good writing. That's not. There's nothing nuanced or entertaining about that. Like you watch this pilot episode, and I'm not saying that it's Citizen Kane, but there's a lot of stuff that's going on that has no dialogue. They're just looking at each other and reacting to things. That's acting. That gives you the perception there's two characters who have some kind of relationship that is deeper than the Gilmore Girls on meth.
I'm glad we're talking about dialogue because I had this noted down from my viewing of the pilot, but just like Mulder has like two modes of dialogue in the pilot. I don't know if this is just uneven writing or just like a character thing, but he will basically go from like the quippy autism that we kind of covered with his reactions to ape corpses and whatever, but then he also gets super flowery. He will just launch into these almost like monologues of this super purple Star Trek like monologue prose, and like I can't tell if that's supposed to be just his like new age kind of hippiness coming out or whether it's just uneven writing and them not being totally sure what his character is yet. I kind of want to say the former because I feel like everything else is so ironed out with the characters at this point that I feel like it had to have been intentional as opposed to just being this one blind spot of writing.
What I get out of that is it's because of his obsession and his passion.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like one of the things about like their relationship, whatever, is that Scully couldn't be like distant and like a bitch basically because you kind of have to be on Mulder because he's like possessed by something. He's super obsessed.
Yeah, and you're this 2-person team that's roaming around like the backwoods of America trying to solve these like weird ass things. You really can't have an antagonistic relationship with the person you're working with, otherwise you're both getting abducted or sold to Bigfoots.
Yeah, even though they do have an antagonistic like mindset in terms of like their investigation techniques, but the thing about him like breaking out into these long stuff that's like even flowery and stuff. I mean, this is like I used to do this shit, and like at some point I was at work and this woman asked me about Stalin, and I don't know why. and I would get like that, and it's the thing is like he's been up in his head reading and sort of like thinking about this kind of stuff. Like he spends every waking moment sort of like watching Alex Jones and reading these weird books and stuff like that. So he has these really like bizarre and like unfiltered, like no one's really like he hasn't presented them to anyone else but in his head. You know what I mean?
This is why our podcast is, by the way. We were in a group chat with one of a mutual friend, and we would do this thing that you're describing where we would just unleash walls of text to each other and anybody who was around. And like, this has been a consistent thing that
I would do this all the time, like inappropriately, like because it would be like that we were having a casual conversation, but I've spent hours and hours thinking about this thing.
And she said, "Why don't you guys start a podcast? And then you can say these things into a microphone, so you'll stop saying them to me because it's really getting annoying for you to spam me with this crap." And that's so like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Like, yes, that is the way that I would look at it too.
Mulder is passionate about alien justice.
There was something that I said that we would get to later and we never did because we were talking about this will they won't they thing, and this is a formula too, and especially in television. And like I think Moonlighting was probably the first time that it became the focus of the show. Right? There's these two people, there's this man and his woman, And the whole focus of the show is, are they going to become boyfriend and girlfriend? And what happens in every time that this is a plot point in any television show, it happened in Cheers like twice, and it happened in Moonlighting. As soon as they do become a couple, the show sucks forever. You've crossed the Rubicon. It's never going to be the same show again. It's not going to be fun anymore, because if the focus was entirely on this relationship aspect, well, that's over now. It's resolved. What are you going to talk about now?
Yeah, I mean, the best version of this is like no one would watch like imagine the home life of Jack and Rose from Titanic. I mean, like this. Like, these people can't really be together. I mean, they can have sex, but I mean...
Did you see this meme recently? Someone posted that, like, they had a picture of him on the raft and a picture of, what was her name? The name of the actress. And her age at the time of filming was 26. And then the next frame of the meme is him falling off. He's like, there was room on the raft, but she just turned 26, so it was over for Leo.
That's hilarious. But you see what I mean? Like, this would not work. But yeah.
No, of course not, because this is the problem with, like I said, where how almost every television show has soap opera aspects now. This is a problem, because you can't ever reach the finish line, and it's gonna unless like you're going to end the show, and then everybody lives happily ever after. This is a problem too in general with serialized television shows that don't have like this structured, like if you don't structure it from the very beginning, they meander and they become crappy. Like this is very famously with Lost. It's nothing but teasing the whole time, right? You're just being edged for 8 seasons, and there's no possible answer to the mystery that would be as good as the edging. It's like, that's the same way with like their relationship in this show. And I guess in the very end of the show, they do like run away together, but by then the show sucked. Like, who cares? Like once they drop the pretenses, it's boring now. Well,
I mean, the point is that this show is not a love story between these two characters. I mean, it's like a gradient above. So, the OG kind of similar in a lot of ways is like the OG Star Trek, but because OG Star Trek had like, they had like Monster of the Week. However, I think OG Star Trek was even more character driven. Like, you could have a lot of OG Star Trek with no sort of like these like mini stories of etc. of just like the great character interactions between Bones, Spock, and Kirk. This, I mean, that's there, but it is even less, is more demoted in this, where like, we have this amazing stories, Robert E. Howard stuff that we're these characters are taking us on. Their interaction with each other is not the point of the show.
No, and the show would, I've said this before, the show would have been better if they had excised all of the serial plot stuff and just been nothing but monster shows.
Remember, the plot stuff is like 10% of the show max.
But as the show progresses, it becomes more and more of it, and that's when the show became bad. And plus, it gets so convoluted, and I'm not a fan of it. I love the monster episodes.
The first 1 to 2 episodes of each season is a plot episode. 1 to 2 of the middle, very, very middle, are a plot episodes, and 1 to 2 of the end are a plot episodes. Everything else is Monster of the Week. Anyways, like he said, Chris Carey says these characters are just there to bring us on this kind of like, is it I think that I want to claim it for America, that the weird tales, H.P. Lovecraft, Robert E. Howard short story Monster of the Week is like one of the great. It's like we got blues music and Monster of the Week short stories. As America.
You know what? I will die on this hill with you. I'm there.
Yeah, well, my buddy Hellbilly Elegy here with me. What's your favorite television show of all time?
Oh, man. Sorry, it caught me off guard there.
Twilight Zone.
Twilight Zone, yeah.
Yeah, because in many, we when the New Year's Twilight Zone marathon.
Yeah, we would basically just,
before live tweeting was the thing.
Yeah, before watching things with, people remotely was like a thing, we were kind of pioneering it by sitting all by ourselves on New Year's Eve, like super cool people, and breaking down the Twilight Zone marathon.
Yes, the Twilight Zone is like the original version is so perfect. Yeah, there's a reason for this. It's a huge country. It's full of all kinds of weird stuff. Like Southern California and Maine are like another planet. If you're talking about the entire continent of Europe, you could say, okay, yeah, there's a lot of like diverse landscapes. You can never leave the country and see like every type of terrain, every kind of place, and there's all kinds of weird people, and they're so spaced out from each other that they can develop into weird little subcultures. It's great. This is part of who we are. The weird, dangerous woods and stuff like that. You're right. That is a uniquely American thing.
Yeah. 100% agreed.
You know Death Valley, California?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is a cave in Death Valley. There's a little hole to it. With like there's a cave system underneath it. It's all flooded, and it like goes like people have been like 300 feet deep. No one's been further. Like there's animals that only live there. That's just there's a million of that. But however, like I think
coincidentally, there was an anthology television show back in the 50s and maybe early 60s called Death Valley Days. It was just an anthology series, totally different characters, but it's all set in Death Valley.
Not much to do other than Death Valley to sweat your ass off. But I don't know. I think the Monster of the Week serial thing is like this is an American institution. It supersedes everything.
100%. I mean, I think it comes from sort of like the regional oral like folklore and tradition. Like it absolutely does come from all of that, I feel. And I think a thing a lot of people really underestimate, kind of going to your point of like Southern California and Maine being different planets. Like America is fucking huge. Like I've like driven across Texas and it just does not end. Like you really don't grasp like how really far and sprouted it is, and just the variety of biomes and climates and everything is just it really is like what the entirety of Europe contains, just all in a single country.
Think about the variety of that's in New Jersey, the state. We're the smallest state.
Yeah. It's not the smallest state.
I just said one of the smallest.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
It's surprising. Like going north to south in New Jersey is literally like 6 hours. Like it is surprisingly
Mega City 1 to pine wilderness full of weirdos. Here's my view. Like when we're talking about
Jersey Devil episode, by the way.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
If we're talking about the diversity of like television shows here, you got serialized versus self-contained, and the X-Files is like you said, it's 10% serialized in the beginning, and so right, Twilight Zone 100% self-contained. My view on this is, it's like in a movie. You guys have I know that Hellbilly Elegy but you too, right, Bog Beef? You like the long one-shot scenes, right? The oneers.
Yeah.
Right. You have to be really good as a director to make a long one. Like the Goodfellas one's one of the most famous, where he's taking her to the nightclub. I know, Bog.
Copacabana.
Yes, I remember you would show us that, and you would gush about it because it's great. But you have to do a really good oneer. You have to be really good at your job. You have to be excellent. To make a good serialized story, you have to be a really good writer. You have to be a good director. You have to be the guy you have to be Vince Gilligan, right? Breaking Bad, whatever. If you don't like TV or not, that's a really good show. And there's not really many people who had bad things to say about it. And it's completely serialized. It's a great story. I even liked it, and I don't like anything on TV anymore. But he's really good at that. Whereas if maybe you're not the best TV director, writer, self-contained is the way to go, because you have a chance to, like, if you screw up and you make a bad episode, it doesn't really matter, because next week you're on to the next thing.
Yeah.
There were some Twilight Zone episodes that are like really, really bad.
They're just like a little too weird. I don't mean even just in like a strange or unreason. I mean like this concept is just clearly something someone wrote on like the back of a napkin and had a very passionate feeling about. And
what if we were dolls in a trash can?
That was literally the one that was in my head. I was also going to say, what if store mannequins just came to life for like one day out of the year and lived these like little store mannequin lives for a day, and then went back to being store mannequins. Like that's like a raving fever dream of a Twilight Zone episode.
And you give yourself a lot of leeway doing that, and that's why
Yeah.
the switch to serialization hasn't necessarily been the best thing for television or stream. When you say TV now, you can mean like streaming series and all this stuff. Everything now has to be a serial, and a lot of times they don't do a very good job of it, and it becomes a soap. Like soap operas were the original serials; they were extremely serialized.
That's also because not many people are consuming shows on a discrete weekly basis anymore.
Yes, that is absolutely right. If we were, if the X-Files came out today, it would be 14 episodes, and they would all drop on Netflix on the same day.
Exactly.
And people would be, you would, when Bog Beef watched the X-Files, like you were watching, I don't know what rate you did it, but you knocked out a couple years of the serial stories in a short time. Like you were seeing it as super compressed. You weren't seeing it organically, and nobody does now because the concept of binge watching exists, and this creates a huge flow problem for any story. Like if the person's watching, you see this a lot if you watch old TV shows like streaming or whatever where there are no commercials. Like even something as minor as, did this scene happen 3 minutes ago or did it happen a half a second ago?
I literally just almost slapped my desk too right now because so I actually watched this streaming, but free streaming with commercials, and the first time was with commercials, the second time wasn't, and there's actually a big noticeable pacing difference of just like having that minute and a half breather between scenes does something to your brain where you can process that, okay, this could have been anywhere from 30 minutes to the next day, and that's totally fine. When I was watching it like without the breaks, and it was just like, they're here now, they're here, like it really does kind of mess up.
It's jarring.
It really messes with the flow.
I mean, this, maybe this is overthinking it, but I don't think so. Like, if you watch like a medical procedural show, like you'll have right before the commercial break, oh no, he went into cardiac arrest, and then after the commercial break, well, we got him, he's in stable condition. There's no time
for tension or drama because you've gone from scene A to the resolution of scene A without any time to really kind of react, get invested, think about stuff that happened earlier in the episode that may or may not influence the chances of surviving. You're just kind of dumped right into it.
This is the mini version of so with the serialized show, there was a lot of cliffhanger stuff where people would discuss for weeks. I remember, I don't remember exactly what it was. I just remember watching MTV once, and there was like some light discussion where they were talking about like, oh, what do you think the Smoking Man is? Something like there was some kind of light discussion about a cliffhanger. Well, this thing, with the Monster of the Week stuff, you have a cliffhanger through like two of the commercial breaks. So the gun gets pointed, dun 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 dun, and then it cuts to Folgers in your cup. You're like, God damn it, what's gonna happen?
It's amazing to think back because I've said before, I liked the Patrick Stewart Star Trek show when I was a kid, The Next Generation. I loved that show. There was a season where they had a cliffhanger at the end of the season where it's like you thought Captain Picard was gonna die, and that I don't want to say it's unimaginable now because they do stuff like that now, but it's like that was so unusual at the time. The idea that you would cliffhanger this until an entire year had passed, and I guess today it would be like we find out now if you hit the little next button on Netflix.
So I'll talking this from like a kind of production standpoint. I think in general you wouldn't see that now just because I feel like you'd know if a show is going to get renewed by like the second episode of a given season. So I feel like a lot of that suspense is gone. And also I think people are much more aware of when a show is actually canceled or not canceled or continued, year to year. But I don't, the only cliffhangers I think you really see now in terms of like a between seasons ones are kind of like ones that are sort of more meant to give them room to either pick it back up if they get renewed, or, if it gets canceled and ends, it can end on this sort of ambiguous note. I really don't think you see like story driven cliffhangers as much at this point on a year-long span at this point in time.
By the way, they did have the thing where you watch the whole show in one thing. I was watching Red Letter Media, and he brought up that thing. Is that where the Borg came in, where they had the big cliffhanger?
Yep.
Yeah. So Rich Evans said that he started watching Star Trek because there was a huge like pop culture buzz about the cliffhanger, and he's like, "Oh wow, this is really interesting. I watched the old Star Trek. Maybe I'd be interested in this." And then there'd been several marathons they did through the year where you could watch like the whole show, and then like he caught up through marathons.
Yeah, marathons was like was a thing back.
That's a funny thing, a marathon, TV marathon.
Clear my schedule.
Clear New Year's Eve, yeah.
Be like during the holidays and stuff. You had like just 3 days of a TV show. That's crazy. That is nostalgic.
Yeah, I clear my weekend. I'm catching up on all of Charles in Charge. Hold my calls. Take the phone off the hook.
Now thinking about like Black Mirror and stuff, I'm more sold on the idea that and also like in philosophy, if you mess with philosophy a little bit, like there are a lot of philosophical concepts that are they're like usually introduced with a Star Trek episode, the OG Star Trek.
Black Mirror is shit now, by the way. Like he tried to make Twilight Zone for the 21st century, and for like 3 seasons or whatever, he did a great job of it. It was like every episode you would get this same feeling like, oh god, and that could happen. That people like, it's when you watch reruns of the Twilight Zone, you see there's like a space alien from Venus who's coming down to Earth to screw things up. That wasn't like an outrageous idea to people in the late 1959. Maybe that could happen. Maybe there could be a nuclear war or whatever. All these things. Maybe there are sea creatures that are going to come out and kill us. People didn't know stuff. It was a very tense time. Black Mirror, every episode's like, hey, what if they figure out a way to put a smartphone in your brain and screw your life up? Yeah, I could see that happening. And then like the last few seasons, and I watched the one episode of it, and I just like I'm done with it. Like they had this thing where it was like, wouldn't it be cool if you were stuck inside of a video game? Like, wouldn't that be awesome? Or what if old people uploaded their brain consciousness into a simulated 1980s city where they could live forever? And like, this is a cool, heartwarming thing. That's like the opposite of what Black Mirror should be. You should be telling you why that would be horrible.
Why The Matrix is awesome.
Yes, exactly. But the Black Mirror never got awards before they started doing this slop, like these shows where it's like, hey, wouldn't it be awesome if we became transhumanist? Wouldn't that be neat? And like then they just got showered with Emmys because there was a morality shift in the show, and I don't need to go further than that.
What if we just put a knife on a robot? Wouldn't that be scary?
Well, the height
a Roomba with a straight razor attached to it.
Well, either way, like the height of Black Mirror, the height of X-Files, the height of all this stuff is like a horror sci-fi short story.
Yeah.
This is American tradition. I assume it probably goes back before H.P. Lovecraft, but he's like the man with this stuff, right?
There are different traditions. Like the sci-fi thing is very American. I don't think we invented it, but it became our thing just because we were a young country, very dynamic at the time that this became popular. The idea that we were going to go to outer space seemed more reasonable. Lovecraft is kind of a throwback to like Ichabod Crane.
I was going to say he's very New England.
Yeah, exactly.
Which actually I know is a slur on this show, but
yeah, put an asterisk there in the
his writing is very steeped in like exactly what Merrick was saying,
Northern Gothic,
right?
Northern Gothic, like
it's not sci-fi like as such, because like real sci-fi is like Jules were like, what if we made a boat that could go to the bottom of the sea, but like a little bit of aliens, maybe a little bit of combined with horror.
We keep hyping that Fluke Man, like I feel like that's like
I'm gonna get so disappointed if we get to that.
That's our serialization. We're going to keep promising to get to the Fluke Man. And
I got the video games here. I haven't booted up. I heard one of them is like good, but it feels like they mean good for a licensed game.
Yeah.
That era of PlayStation games, I didn't have a PlayStation, but they don't seem that good. Like they don't.
They were
never,
so good. They were
I don't
so good.
understand the appeal of Resident Evil.
You ever play Metal Gear Solid?
No.
Metal Gear Solid is like the greatest spy movie you've ever seen.
Yeah,
it's
it's
so
a lot
good.
of cutscenes, right? Yeah.
On Benadryl. It's the greatest spy movie you've seen on massive amounts of Benadryl.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, but I watched two movies every Sunday. Last Sunday I watched one of these was Murphy's Law.
Chuck Norris.
No, Charles Bronson.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
So Bronson did like Death Wish 1 through 3, and then you have 4 and 5 are like B movies. On the side, he made like 10 billion B movies that are like Death Wish fan fiction, basically. And one of the scenes in this Murphy's Law, it looked like I saw it and I was like, damn, Metal Gear Solid stole this fucking scene. There was like the sniper scene.
That would be not surprising, given how Kojima rolls.
Yes, yeah, like the scene where there's a woman sniper sort of shooting at him, and anyways, it was just like that. But yeah, I don't know.
Have you watched Assault on Precinct 13 yet?
No.
Yes, great movie.
Watch it. Just
Was
thank
that
me
Sean
later.
Carpenter?
Yeah.
Yeah. I should the music. I should have. Yeah.
Yeah. Watch it and thank me later. Wow.
All right. Is it a movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
oh, it's a gritty shootout movie. I don't know. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to define it.
It's a modern western.
Yeah, fair enough. Exactly.
Yeah.
And movies, like, I don't even consider myself the biggest movie guy, but I just think of the things movies. One time I went to this woman's house and I was there to do the job. You know what I mean? But she was like, "Oh, I rented this movie, Children of Men," and
Oh my! Wow! Talk about not being able to read the room. Jesus Christ!
and I was like, I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'm like, thumbing the rubber in my wallet or whatever, and getting the booze ready and stuff. But then I sat there and watched that whole goddamn movie because I was like, well, this is I was just entranced by watching or whatever. Anyways, we're done here.
Netflix and chill, but you're watching Misery.
Yeah.
just not the right genre for the moment.
Yeah.
We need to stop the horror situation. We need to they're not gonna have babies anymore.
Exactly, dude. What did you just learn from this movie? Because I got some thoughts about it.